What's up YouTube, how goes it? In today's video, we are having a look at a product that recently adopted Intel's newest 11th gen processor. I'm talking about the Dell Inspiron 5000 series. So we've got this bad boy right here, fresh out of the oven, and in today's video we're doing a quick unboxing, a power review to see if this laptop is worth the money in your wallet. As always guys, if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing to my channel. It really does mean a lot to me and helps me grow as well. Let's get started. Let's get the dry stuff out of the way first. In terms of specifications, this particular configuration has Intel's newest 11th generation Tiger Lake quad-core Core i5 processor. You have 8GB of DDR4 RAM. You also have Intel's Iris Xe graphics, and of course you have a 512GB SSD. You also have the latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standard on board, and this is a 15.6-inch display with a full HD resolution screen. It's also worth noting this particular configuration is priced at approximately $740 USD. The pricing will vary depending on the configuration you get. Let's have a quick peek and see what's inside the box. So first and foremost, the actual box itself is a traditional cardboard box. It's pretty standard and you won't find anything particularly fancy about it. So we'll go ahead and remove the content seal and open the laptop. Inside you find a number of items. First and foremost, of course, you have the Inspiron 5000 itself. It's got a hefty bit of weight to it, but we'll get back to that in just a minute. Beyond that, you have a 65-watt proprietary charging adapter. Unfortunately, no USB-C type charging, but that's okay. And past that, you have a standard wall outlet cable. Also, it's worth noting you do get your best practices, instructions, compliance, and warranty information like always. Coming back to the laptop itself, this is a fairly premium looking laptop given its price range. It weighs 3.8 pounds approximately, and that weight is entirely justified given the fact there's a bunch of premium materials all across this laptop. Starting off with the top side, you can see it's a metallic surface, cool to the touch, super smooth, minimal. You have the Dell branding in the dead center and that's it. No overcomplicated textures, no excessive fanciness. I like it. As we make our way to the side of the laptop, there is a rather limited but useful set of I/O ports. So on one side, you have the DC charging port, you have a HDMI port, a USB 3.0 port, and a USB Type-C port. On the other side, you have the headphone jack, another USB 3.0 port, and also a micro SD card reader. Finally, we make our way to the bottom of the laptop. You can see there are a bunch of passive vents. Now this portion of the laptop is made of hard TPU, and that's perfectly fine given that it's hidden from sight most of the time. And you have a bunch of Phillips screws, which means the backplate technically is removable. Also, you'll notice that you have a speaker grill, one on either side actually, which means this is a stereo setup speaker system. We'll do a sound test later on in the video. Next, we open up the laptop itself, and right away you'll notice this thing looks seriously premium. It's hard to believe that this is a mid-range laptop. With that being said, you have a generous amount of palm rest space, and you also have a pretty big trackpad with plenty of real estate. Unfortunately, one big downside that I noticed is the trackpad looks premium, but when you click on it, it feels cheap and flimsy. It feels like a bunch of pieces of plastic are coming together every time you apply pressure towards a left or right click. I don't know why Dell cheaped out on this, but you'll definitely feel this, and it does take away from the immersion. Thankfully, I'm happy to report that the keyboard in the Inspiron 5000 is absolutely amazing. It has nice tactile feedback, a 1.5mm travel. Also, it is fully backlit with a 2-tier setting system. Also, you have the inclusion of a full 10-key number pad, and you also have a fingerprint scanner which doubles as the power button. Additionally, there are no dedicated media keys. However, they are all baked into the traditional functional keys you find on the laptop. As we move past the keyboard, we come to the hinge. I have to say that the 2-tier hinge system is super solid on the Dell Inspiron 5000. I love it because it seems like it's not flimsy and it's designed to last for the years to come. So good job there, Dell. Moving on to the display, one thing I really like is that Dell does a pretty good job at trying to modernize the display fitting. So you have super thin bezels on either side. Also, you have a relatively slim chin with the Dell branding in the center. And on the top, the forehead bezel is also super slim. You do have a webcam right in the middle with a dual array microphone. Unfortunately, the webcam quality is pretty lackluster, running at 720p at 30 frames per second, but sadly this is the norm in the industry currently. In terms of display quality, the Inspiron 5000 has a decent display, but I wouldn't call it good and far from great, but hear me out. So you start off with a reasonable 1080p resolution with 141 pixel per inch. Also, you have a modest 60Hz refresh rate. All good up till now, but that's where things start going down. In terms of color accuracy, you have just above 58% sRGB coverage, which is quite lackluster. That means if you're doing any graphic intensive tasks like color grading, or if you're doing Photoshop editing or any photo editing in general, this might not be the right display for you given the high color inaccuracies you'll experience. Furthermore, at its peak level, the brightest level only hits 233 nits. While this should be ample for most indoor lighting settings, if you are using this laptop in direct or indirect sunlight, you will definitely have a hard time seeing the screen no matter how high you crank up the brightness. Let's talk about what matters the most. Performance. I'm happy to say that the 11th generation Core i5 chip breezes through most tasks. So anything from word processing to surfing the web to watching a Netflix movie or crunching an Excel file will work seamlessly. Even when you run more CPU intensive tasks like Photoshop, Lightroom, or Premiere Rush, you'll find that the laptop does a pretty good job at handling all that. In fact, I was able to do a smooth workflow with 1080p video editing on Premiere Rush, so good job there. With that being said, if you are planning on doing any sort of gaming on this laptop, I would say it should be casual at most, because most games will only run on the ultra low to low settings with a steady 30 frame rate. Any higher and you start actually running into unplayable frame rates. Given the fact that this has the latest Intel Iris Xe chip, you may expect slightly better performance, but again, this is not a gaming laptop. With great performance comes great battery life, is what we would all wish for our laptops. With that being said, the Inspiron 5000 has pretty reasonable metrics in terms of battery life, so using it for day-to-day activities like web surfing, or let's say watching a YouTube video with low volume at mid brightness levels, you can easily squeeze up to 9 hours of battery life, which isn't bad given the specs you have on this thing. However, keep it at a high workload with maximum brightness, and that drastically drops around 3.5 hours of battery life, which like I said is a big drop, so depending on what you're doing, the battery life could be all over the place. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, you actually have a stereo speaker system on board, which is great, and in my opinion the speakers sound pretty good, but have a listen for yourself. For those of you wondering about how hot this laptop gets when under high workload, generally speaking, at the surface level, temperatures rarely exceed 35 degrees Celsius. If you do block the ventilation or push it for prolonged period of time, it can cross the 40-degree mark, but that's a rare sight. In terms of processor temperatures, you can hit a maximum load of 84 degrees Celsius, after which the processor will thermal throttle and scale back in terms of performance until it reaches cooler temperatures. Okay. So here's my grand take on the Inspiron 5000. I think that Dell has a very well built laptop here. It looks super premium, and it definitely has lots of premium elements without a premium price tag. However, Dell made some pretty deep compromise to achieve this look. For example, the trackpad. It feels flimsy and bad. Even though it looks really nice, it just doesn't have the same experience tied along with it. And the display, while not awful by any means, is not good either in my opinion. It's just somewhere in between. Also, if you are, let's say, a photo editor, you may find the display to be less than ideal for your needs. But with that being said, this is a great computer for anyone who has a normal activity usage chart. For example, if you're doing web browsing, watching Netflix, or typing a Word documents, this laptop is more than powerful, and it can even run more intensive applications. So if you do choose to do video editing, like I said, it'll be able to run that at least to a degree. With that being said, if you are going to be using this for even casual gaming, I would not advise this laptop for you. It's not designed for graphic intensive activities, and even though it has the latest integrated chipset inside it, it's just not going to run a smooth gaming experience if you run anything beyond ultra low settings. In short, at $740 USD, this is a great laptop for anyone who wants a lightweight solution with great portability, but horsepower when it's required. I think this laptop is great for both students and consumers in general who have that kind of lifestyle. All in all, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always guys, if you did enjoy this video, please consider liking it and also subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. It really helps me grow and helps me provide more future quality content for you guys. Let me know what you think of the Inspiron 5000 series. Thanks again. Soul of Tech logging out.